Hello there, friends. Welcome to episode 56 of That One Gaming Podcast. My name is Colin, but I'm otherwise known as Delicious Morsels, and here today with me is Lucas, aka Carn-Evil9. How is Lucas doing today?
Doing good.
All right. We've also got Neal here, better known as VMK89. How are you today, Neal?
Doing just fine.
All right. If you are new to this podcast, welcome. You can find us on Spotify, Apple, or one of the many other podcasting platforms out there where the three of us get together every other week to talk about a variety of topics in the world of gaming. And this week, we are discussing a level design trope in video games that many would rather didn't exist. Water levels. These levels either take place underwater with some kind of swimming mechanic, or at minimum feature water as a central theme or mechanic. They often include changes to player mobility, especially in the underwater examples, which doesn't always go over well amongst players, as a lot of times movement speed through the level is hindered. We are going to be discussing the design trope as a whole, specific cases that we dislike the most, and maybe even offering some examples of where it is done well, if those exist. But before we get into that, we like to talk about what we have been playing since the last episode. So, Lucas, what have you been playing?
Phantasy Star Online Blue Burst on the Affinia private server. And nothing else. I'm already halfway through my second character.
God.
Probably more than that. It's closer to 3/4 at this point, because I'm almost done with the Mines quests for my second character.
It's only been 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I know this game inside and out.
Crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like Phantasy Star Online.
Surprise.
Yeah. I did a full playthrough with a Rock-a-Seal, and now I'm working on a full playthrough with a Phone-Whirl. And then after that, I have a Huka-Seal that I'm going to play through as, and I also have a Whirl character that I am going to use for my recorded playthrough for when we eventually do That One Game Phantasy Star Online.
I think I'm a Whirl. I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hunter, Newman, female.
Yeah.
It's a good character class, especially for solo play, in my experience. Because Whirl can learn almost all of the techniques up to level 20. The only techniques they can't learn are Grants, Megid, and Reverser, which, in the context of solo play, Reverser doesn't do anything for you because that just brings a party member back from the dead.
Oh.
And then Grants and Megid are light and dark spells, which honestly, even in higher level Phone-Whirl playthroughs I've done on episodes 1 and 2 plus for the GameCube, I still don't use that a whole lot. But then also because they're hunters, they get a huge variety of weapons to play with.
I'm trying to get a gun.
Yeah.
It's taking forever. It's not really taking that long. I've only been playing for like an hour.
Yeah.
But I want a gun because it'll make me feel like a machinist in Final Fantasy. And also, ranged attacks are pretty valuable in the early game, from what I could tell.
Yeah.
Because you get slapped around pretty easily in the early game.
Yeah.
Lots of bears.
Yeah. Boomas will slap you around if you're not careful.
Yeah. Found it out very quickly.
Yeah.
Especially with my initial try, because when I first created a character, I went into the wrong server and it wasn't a story-based server.
Oh, yeah.
So I queued into like I guess it was a multiplayer instance, so the enemies were just like stronger to accommodate having a full party of players, and I had a bad time.
Yeah. The ship we're playing on, Devaloka, is like kind of balanced to be closer to that of like the episodes 1 and 2 plus iteration of Phantasy Star Online than the Blueburst iteration. So if you specifically select one person mode, it's almost 1-to-1 what it is on GameCube and Xbox. Otherwise, if you go into normal mode, when you select which mode you want to play in between normal, battle, challenge, and one person, normal mode is almost like what the multiplayer mode on episodes 1 and 2 plus is, where it has the higher enemy counts plus other things to make it more difficult because you have a party with you instead of being by yourself.
Right. Yeah, I wish I could have got my Xbox all set up and ready to go before this, but it's just I wanted to get the HDMI mod done for it and haven't been able to buy the parts for that yet. And then the disk drive I noticed has a sticking issue that I have to solve.
Yeah.
So I'm playing the Blueburst version on PC too. I have had a hell of a time getting that to work right though.
Which is weird because you're not the one running Linux.
Is partially self-inflicted because I insist on going through and playing with all of the graphic settings at my disposal.
Oh, okay.
And they don't all produce the best results. The most common issue that I was getting was certain settings when enabled would basically make my character like half transparent, or like half the character model just wouldn't show up at all. So I finally got that solved. And then the other issue I was having was when I first initially started playing it that one night a couple weeks ago. I think it was the night after we finished recording the last episode. We were playing around with it, getting set up.
Yep.
And I had an issue where the audio in the cutscenes for like the single player mode, like the FMV cutscenes, it was all like choppy and clicky and it just didn't sound right. Figured out that was a sample rate issue with my audio interface. So I got that flipped around. So now that works. So I'm good now. But it was a process to get it there. And I'm only running it in 720p windowed as well because I don't trust it to go any further than that.
I mean, it runs fine at 1440p on my setup.
It probably would. I mean, it was running okay at 1080p, but I also had a 1080 windowed instead of full screen. I didn't go full screen with it.
Same.
Yeah.
I was like, I'll just bump it down to 720.
I got too many tabs open for PSO World to be able to make full screen viable. So running, I think, borderless windowed.
Yeah, I've been running 4:3 instead of widescreen. I don't know if that does widescreen affect the gameplay the same way it affects the logos at the beginning.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. I wonder if I should just switch it to 4:3 because I think it does stretch out a little bit.
Probably.
Yeah. Now that I'm thinking about it, it does stretch it a little bit in widescreen.
It definitely stretches the logos whenever I see it. Like Sonic Team is too wide.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think I'll switch it to 4:3 next time I play as well. It's meant to be played in 4:3 anyway, so.
Yeah, it was originally a Dreamcast game, so.
Yeah.
Right.
Which, I mean, all things considered, this game still looks really good for what it is.
It does. Mm-hmm. For a 20-year-old MMO from a Dreamcast, it looks pretty darn good.
But yeah, I love this game. I'm very into the game mechanics of this game. I think my mag, as of the quest that I was working on before we started recording, I think is at level 97. And I took I with a little aid of a reminder from one of the mag guides on PSO World, I have it set up so that I will get a rare mag evolution when I hit level 100
Nice.
again. Because I also did that with my Rocket Seal.
Of course.
Yep.
Jeez. We're going to be relying on you when we finally do multiplayer.
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Well, whenever we get around to that, I will have probably any character to fill any sort of role that you guys need me to fill.
Yeah, I'm going to be going pretty hard into PSO mode pretty soon.
Mm-hmm.
I'll get into why when I get into what I've been playing, but yeah, I'm almost at a point where I'm ready to just kind of switch over to PSO being my primary game until that's finished.
Yeah. Yeah. Just like how I was when Metroid Prime Remastered came out. Anticipate hearing about PSO for a very long time.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Is this the first time you've actually like really committed to playing the PC version?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah,
Everything
yeah.
everything prior to this has been strictly episodes 1 and 2 plus on the GameCube.
Yeah, so this is going to be your Final Fantasy 14 for a while.
Yeah. I mean, even the GameCube version was like, this isn't the first time where I've like back-to-back several character
Right.
completions for episode 1.
But now you've got back-to-back characters on a platform that you haven't done it on yet.
That's true. And I discovered earlier today that Ifinia's game launcher has the option to let you switch between character slots, so you can have up to 32 characters on one account.
Dangerous.
Yeah, especially considering I already have 12 characters on GameCube.
That's
I
one
have-
of every class, right?
Yep, one of every class, and let's see, 10 of them, or well, there's 10 section IDs. So I have one character of each section ID as well, plus 2 of whichever ones that I picked for the last 2 characters.
Huh.
Yeah, it's offline multiplayer mode. You can pretty easily trade items back and forth between character to character.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, Phantasy Star Online is just a fantastic game, and it's aged remarkably well for an MMO.
Yeah. Dare I say it's aged better than its sequel?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. We might get into that a little bit when we do the PSO episode. I don't know.
Probably.
It'll be hard not to mention the differences
Yeah.
when we do get to it.
The difference in how one is a good game and the other kind of isn't.
Just sucks that we had to wait 10 years to find out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which probably like hyped the game up even more.
Unfortunately.
Yep.
The higher you are, the harder you fall.
Yep.
Yeah. Unfortunately, PSO 2 is not just PSO, but better.
Yeah. It's PSO if it was a gacha game, and also the story was conveyed through warp down to planet, have a conversation between one other person, complete the quest.
Yeah, it was just the disjointed approach to storytelling that really killed it.
Yeah.
Because, like, it was, yeah, like you watch a cutscene and then you have to walk all the way to a counter to accept the quest.
Oh,
and
weird.
everything. It wasn't, like, integrated with the quest at all.
Yeah.
Huh.
And then, of course, like, you look at a game like Final Fantasy 14, where, I mean, the story is central to the entire experience. So it's like it doesn't have any of that disjointedness to it at all. And that like PSO 2 does, or even like an older MMO like Final Fantasy 11 even does a better job. But PSO1 also did a better job with its story because when you get the story when you pick up the quest.
Yep.
And the story is the quest, like it should be.
Yeah.
So it was just like you get random tasks that weren't really related to what just happened in the cutscene?
A lot of times, yeah.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah, just wasn't that good. And I remember that there was something that I was trying to grind for. Was it like a Sega Genesis mag or something that I was grinding for? And you had to get to like, you had to get to like all the way through episode 3 of the story or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like not into that story at all. So it was like, I'm just like blasting through these cutscenes because like they had virtually nothing to do with what you're actually doing from moment to moment in gameplay.
Here's the thing is that like episode 1 through 3 is actually a decent story. It's just it's presented in such a clunky fashion that
Right.
I wouldn't recommend playing Phantasy Star Online 2 for that story. I would recommend watching Phantasy Star Online The Origin, the anime adaptation of episodes 1 through 3.
Yeah, it's a shame that a half decent story could be kind of broken up into such a terrible delivery method.
Yeah. But yeah, I love PSO. It's one of my favorite games of all time.
It's a great game.
Shout outs to episode 1 of the podcast where I said it was one of my favorite games of all time.
And I mean, also, those listening, I mean, we have a channel set up in the Discord for PSO2 and all that with all the information you need to get set up and playing it on your computer. And you can play with us.
Yep.
Just throwing it out there.
Yeah. Just join the Discord, hit us up. Like, how to play PSO with you, almighty PSO nerd. And I'll play PSO with you. It's really easy.
It's pretty easy. It's really not hard to get Lucas to play PSO.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
But what have you been playing, Neal?
Well, like I've kind of mentioned, I am playing PSO as well. I am playing as I am playing as a faux Newman. Is I think what the word is.
Yep, faux Newman. Force Newman male.
Right. Yes. I like their naming convention. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been doing just basic Force stuff, having a good time.
Use the Force, Luke.
Yeah.
Wizard stuff.
But yeah, also I've still been going through Sonic Generations. I want to say last time we recorded, I was also stuck on Planet Wisp.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, I haven't gotten farther in there, but Sonic Generations comes along with a bunch of like side quests. There's maybe like 10 or well, I'm not sure exactly how many side quests there are per level, but there's I would say around about 8 to 10 per level of each version of Sonic, so totaling somewhere between 16 and 20. And you only need to complete, I want to say, one to move on to one of each zone to move on to the next set of zones. So if you really don't want to play them, you can just basically play one. There's some that are pretty basic, like complete the level in a certain amount of time. But there's also cool mix-ups that they do, like they'll throw in a extra Sonic character that will help you. Like Knuckles will dig down to find coins, and you collect a certain amount of coins, and you beat the level in a certain amount of time, and you win. And it's cool because completing those will slowly give you more and more pieces of art, concept art, but more importantly, music tracks that you can set to whenever you're playing any level, pretty much. So that's super fun, and it's really fun to unlock those levels and go, hey, I love this song. Yes, I am going to play Chemical Plant with his world playing or whatever. So yeah,
Every
I'm
level
just
is Escape from the City.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you can do that too. I don't know how early you unlock Escape from the City, but yes, I'm sure that's in there. There's no way it's not. Obviously, Escape from the City is part of Generations, so that version of the song is very easy to get to. But yeah, I've just been going through and completing missions, getting extra lives, so that when I finally go back to Planet West, I'm not gonna have to worry about that. Whatever your score is gets converted into like this currency of points, which you can use to alter your playstyle, like little upgrades for Sonic's abilities. But also you can just buy one-ups. So as long as you keep playing, you can just buy tons and tons of one-ups. And so, although the game is technically limited by lives, it's very easy to get a ton of them and not really have to worry about it. And I honestly prefer that over just infinite lives in this game in particular, because it gives you more reason to go back and play the challenges and the older levels again. So hopefully when Sonic X Shadow Generations comes out, they don't go to infinite lives, but I have a feeling they will. But yeah, so eventually I'll beat Planet Wisps and move on to the final boss, which is the worst part about the game.
That seems to be common among Sonic games.
Sometimes Generations has like the worst. Yeah.
Superstars is pretty bad too.
Yeah. Are there Sonic's annoying friends shouting out constant lines the entire time and telling you how to beat the boss over and over again in the same way?
No,
Yeah.
but also it's like over 10 minutes long for no reason.
Yeah, 10 minutes is longer than Time Eater, I'd say. I don't know.
It's a very exhausting fight, which is why I still haven't beaten it, despite being at that fight. All I have to do to beat the game is beat that fight.
Mm-hmm.
I don't wanna. I hate it.
But yeah, that is what I've been playing. Colin, what have you been playing? You.
Me? Well, I finished Dawn Trail last weekend.
Oh, dang.
And it was amazing. I've kind of been chewing on where I think it stands among all the expansions for me. I think as an all-inclusive package, so like all of the story and all of like the battle content, which is like the dungeons and trials, and now they've added the first tier of raids, which I'll talk about in a minute. As an all-inclusive package, I think it's number 3 out of all the Final Fantasy XIV expansions for me. Story-wise, probably number 4. I still think the stories in Shadowbringers, Endwalker, and Heavensward are a little bit... Shadowbringers and Endwalker are a lot a bit stronger, but then Heavensward I think is just a little bit stronger for me story-wise. But it's all of the battle content in Dawn Trail that sets it so far above all of the rest of the battle content in this game. Like the dungeons, the trials, the first 4 raids that they added. This is some of the best battle content in the game, bar none. It's so much fun. The raids this time around, so the 8-player raids, they add there's 12 of them per expansion, and they release them like after the expansion releases, they release them in tiers of 4. So there's 3 tiers, each of them containing 4, and they just kind of stagger them out in releases and stuff. So this past Tuesday, we got the first raid tier for Dawn Trail, and the raids this time are like an anime tournament arc. And it's amazing. Like, it's basically like you took the World Martial Arts Tournament from Dragon Ball Z, but it's in like 2077. It's so good. All 4 of the bosses for the first tier of these raids are incredibly fun. The music is amazing, especially for 2 and 4. For the third boss, the party I got paired up with, we wiped at least 5 times during the course of that fight. Just getting trashed by his mechanics, especially in the second half of the fight. So it was like such a fun experience to finally like overcome that boss and beat it after all of that. And it was such a fun experience in the process as well, because it's like we were just joking around, just having a blast the whole time. Like every single time we died, at least one of us was in the chat. It was just like, damn, got us that time. Okay, we'll get him this time. Just like joking around. I think the guy that was of the 2 tanks, the guy that was the main tank, so he was the one that was primarily focused on distracting the boss and taking all the damage from the boss. Main tank was like, okay, I'm done main tanking after this one. My bones hurt. So the 2 tanks switch positions for the second half of it. And oh, it was so funny. It's like the whole time I'm like, I'm just in the chat being like, okay, we got this. Oh, we don't got this. Okay, next time we got this. Just like such a fun experience. Everybody was just having fun, goofing around. Like finally we got the win, and we were like all just had this huge group celebration after that. Just a bunch of random people that I've never played with before. Probably won't ever play with again. But like those 7 people that I got paired up with, we had a bond by the end of that raid. It was great. Like I am very, very excited for the rest of the content that they're going to roll out and all the patches and stuff post on trail. Like there's just like these 4 raids like set the bar so well for what we can expect. I can't wait to see where this story for this raid series goes, because they've already dropped some hints about some pretty significant stuff at the end of this one, like to kind of tease the second tier of the raids.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know what the Alliance raids are going to be yet, which are the big 24-player raid series, where it's basically 3 groups of 8 taking on these massive dungeons. So I don't even know what those are yet.
Mm-hmm.
They're supposed to hopefully drop the first one of those pretty soon. I don't know if that's going to come as part of the 7.1 patch, or if that's going to be like a little bit before that or not. But God, I'm having so much fun with this. It's so good. And then, since I'm all caught up on story content now, I'm also going back and doing all of the like older raids and stuff that I hadn't done because they weren't part of the main story. So I just kind of was like, oh well, I'm focused on story right now. When I'm caught up on story, I'll go back and double back and do all of these raids and stuff. So now I'm working on some of those and working on the Shadowbringers raids. And those all have a lot of like Final Fantasy VIII references, especially with like the music. They've just got music straight ripped out of Final Fantasy VIII. They've got arrangements of Final Fantasy VIII music. And I'm just like, this is amazing. And the fights in that series are also incredibly fun. So I'm really enjoying that as well. And then after that, I'll probably go back and do the ones from Stormblood, because I haven't done those yet. Yeah, they're so good. The raids in this game are just incredible. So much fun. I really got to try some extreme content soon as well, which is like there's the normal raid tier difficulty, which is basically just like it's not much more difficult than a trial in the main story, which a trial is just an 8-player boss fight essentially in the main story. So the regular raid difficulty isn't much more difficult than that. It might be a little bit more mechanically, but it's not like super difficult. But once you get up to extreme and then savage and then ultimate, that's where stuff gets really insane. And I'm almost at a point where I feel like I can maybe try to kind of work my way into extremes at least. Maybe. We'll see. I don't know, but I've heard that the 2 extreme trials for Dawn Trail are also incredibly fun. So, and like the extreme trials always give you, well, they don't always give you because there's a percentage chance of it dropping, but there are special mounts associated with every expansion's extreme trials. And the mounts for Dawn Trail is just a pair of wings, which is really cool. So it's like, I kind of want to try these extreme trials, even though I know I'm probably going to spend an entire day just trying to grind out one of them, and there's no guarantee that I will get the drop for the wing mount, but it'll be worth it in the long run. It's so fun. But then I also, since I am caught up on story content, and now I'm just doing anything and everything that I feel like doing, I've also started to be like, well, now maybe I can start playing something else occasionally, maybe. So I started playing this past, what was it? I think it's Friday night. I started playing the game Trails Through Daybreak, which is it's the latest localized release in the Legend of Heroes Trails series, which I don't know if you remember me talking about playing one last year. I was playing Trails in the Sky last summer, I think.
I think I remember that.
Yeah, so this is the latest localized release in that series, and it's the start of a new arc, kind of like Trails in the Sky was like the very beginning of the series. And then they had the Sky arc, which spanned 3 games. Then they did I think it was like called the Crossbell arc or something, and that was like 2 games. And then the Cold Steel arc was 4 games. And then they had one game, Trails into Reverie, that came out last year that combined those 3 arcs into one story. And now Daybreak takes place after that and is the start of a new arc itself. So, since I kind of fell off of Sky last year, and now there are rumors of a remake of Sky in the more modern Trails aesthetic circling around, it's like, well, at this point, I'll just wait for the remake. I'm going to try one of the more modern games, and it just so happens that the latest entry is the start of a new arc, so it's the perfect place to start. So I started playing that on Friday. I'm about 7 hours into this game. It is 95% visual novel, 5% gameplay so far.
Damn.
That sounds like Blaze Blue story mode.
It's been a rough 7 hours. I want to stick with it because the battle system is incredibly fun when there are battles to play. But it's the start of a new arc, so I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt. It's setting up a lot of world building that it's going to build upon. There's already a sequel announced that's coming out in, I think, like, it's coming out early next year. I don't know if they give us like an exact month or not, but there's already a sequel coming out next year. So it's like they're setting stuff up for the next 2 to 3 games. I don't know how long the Daybreak arc is going to go, but they're setting stuff up. So it's like, I know once things start moving, they're going to move, but it's getting to the point where things start moving that is incredibly difficult. I am the RPG guy on this podcast, and this is bordering on this is a lot for me, even like just the amount of exposition in conjunction with like how little actual gameplay there is between. It's like very, very, I'm still kind of forcing myself through this. I'm hoping that there is a point soon where I no longer have to force myself to play it and I can just enjoy it because I want to enjoy it. Because I like the characters and I like kind of what they're setting up, but they're just spending so much time doing it. It's like, come on. And then every time I get in a fight, I'm like, okay, this is good. This is good. And then the fight's over and I've got freaking a half hour more cutscenes I gotta play through. It's like, Guys,
Yep.
come on. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm gonna try to stick with it. I'm gonna try because this is a very like the fans of this series love this series. They are very, very vocal in like online like RPG circles for this series. So it's like there is a pretty big audience for this game out there. So I know it's good. It wouldn't have such a fan base if it isn't. But I'm just trying to get to the point where it's good for me. If that makes sense. So hopefully soon. It's starting to move a little bit, but like 7 hours in and having very little actual moments of real combat and gameplay, it's a tough sell for a lot of people. Like I was talking to Jazzy yesterday, kind of telling him about my experiences with it so far. And it's like the beginning of this game makes A Realm Reborn look like it was like extremely fun in comparison.
Yeah.
And A Realm Reborn, like the opening hours of A Realm Reborn are very exposition heavy as well, because it's setting up an MMO. But still in those opening hours, there's so much more that you get to do just from gameplay, because even like in the story and stuff, you're at least doing menial little tasks every now and then to break up the exposition and stuff. Like you're going and killing trash mobs and stuff. You're killing some bunnies and bringing back, turning in quests and stuff, but you're at least doing stuff. You're not just sitting there clicking between text boxes 99% of the time. So that's where I'm at on Trails Through Daybreak right now. So far it is Trails Through Daydream, because I'm trying to stay awake through all this exposition to get to the part where it's good. But anyway, let's move on, because now it's time for our Hey Listeners segment.
Hey, listen!
Each episode, we ask our Discord members a prompt based on the topic of the episode for them to respond to. And if you, listening to this episode, would like to join in on the fun, we have a link to that Discord down below, and we hope to see you there. Our first write-in this week comes from Jazzy, and the prompt in question, which I always fail to mention before getting into this, was just the topic of water levels in video games. So Jazzy's response
is a novel.
Is passionate. Understandably so. Jazzy writes, hate him. Hate him, hate him, hate him. There's 4 things I can't stand in video games. Forced slow walking sections, ice levels, as discussed in the previous TOGP episode, fire levels, and effing water levels. Mario water levels? Hate them. Sonic water levels? Hate them. Donkey Kong Country water levels? Hate them. Zelda water temples? Hate them. Crash Bandicoot water levels? Hate them. Uncharted Drake's Fortune water levels? My God, I hate them. But why? Why do I hate them so much? Because they take your established platforming mechanics and ruin them. But Jazzy, so do low gravity levels and windy levels. What's wrong with the water one specifically? You might be asking. Well, dear TOGP hosts, let me explain. Water levels change your established mechanics in ways that aren't fun, where low gravity levels and wind levels often enhance your abilities by letting you jump higher or farther. Water levels often dehance your abilities in a variety of ways. Is dehance the right word here? Probably not. Unhance, non-hance, dehance works. Sluggish movement akin to slow walking sections being the worst, but also stuff like mashing a button to stay afloat, limited oxygen, or even if they do have an option to counter the sluggish movement, it's often an unwieldy jet ski that doesn't control at all like it should. It can be argued that water levels are a necessary evil, like fire and ice levels. I get it, but that doesn't mean I have to like them. That being said, Super Mario Odyssey does water levels right. It is the one game whose water levels I don't hate and actually do enjoy to a degree. Good job, Super Mario Odyssey. I'm proud of you. Thank you, Jazzy. Very passionate write-in.
Yep.
Definitely sets the tone. I like it. I like it. I like it more than he hates water levels. Our next write-in comes from Lord Kirov, who writes, hard to say. Not many water levels in the games I play. Most of what I play, water is either instant death, mostly used as borders to maps, or as an obstacle to overcome by gear or boats, such as in Ark or Minecraft, where it's first annoying and or dangerous, but after you progress the game, your gear and skills just make it trivial as walking on land. And our last writing comes from Bran Flakes, who writes, I typically like the aesthetics of water levels, but most of the time they're kind of a pain in the ass to play. I do have the unpopular opinion that the Water Temple in Ocarina of Time and the Great Bay Temple in Majora's Mask are overhated, though. They're not the best dungeons in those games, but they're not as bad as the reputation would make you believe. I would be inclined to agree with that. I'm not as...
This is how you can tell we're related, because I'm also of that mindset.
Well, I'm not familiar with the Great Bay Temple because I haven't played enough of Majora's Mask, but the Water Temple in Ocarina of Time is mostly bad due to the N64 and the way it handles its menu system, because you have to swap items around a lot in that dungeon.
Yeah.
It's made a lot better in the 3DS version, where it's just a tap on the bottom screen to swap items and stuff. So
Yeah.
it's like, so really, there's not much of an issue with that dungeon mechanically, now that that's been fixed.
Now, would you believe me if the Master Quest version of the dungeon is even easier?
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into it. Now time for main topic. Explain. We'll just start off with why the Water Temple in Master Quest is even better than the regular.
So, there's a boss key skip in the Water Temple, where if you like do a bomb hover up to a certain height and then jump slash at the door, you'll just skip the door.
Oh.
And Master Quest kind of throws you a bone, and like there's an eye switch in the room that makes a couple of hookshot pillars appear that you can easily just climb to the top of and then side hop, jump slash, and skip through the door. So
Wow.
you can basically just go to the boss room once you get the long shot and call it good. So skips about half the dungeon. It's pretty nice.
Oh, it's always nice when you can skip half of a Zelda dungeon.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some of those can be pretty lengthy.
Yeah. Overall, though, I don't really mind the Water Temple in Ocarina of Time. It's one
it's
of the
not
most
that bad.
infamous water dungeons somehow, but it really isn't that bad.
No, it like I said, a lot of the frustration of it comes from just having to go in and out of the menu so much. It's not like the dungeon itself is mechanically challenging or bad.
Yeah. Mechanically, it's very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I remember back in the day when I first got my 3DS, like this way back when the 3DS first came out, and like Ocarina of Time 3D was like one of 2 games you could buy for it. So I had it. And I remember it was like dreading getting to the Water Temple and then actually playing it. I'm like, wait, this isn't bad actually?
Yeah.
I've been lied to all my life? What is this? It's like, oh, okay. So it didn't occur to me until several years later that the reason why it was so good in the 3DS was because I didn't have to go in and out of the menu all the time.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, and also like having to play Zelda's Lullaby at every one of the Triforce signs to change the water level. It gets kind of annoying, but also like if you're familiar enough to like know about side hop jump slashing to get through the boss door without the boss key, probably also are familiar with the ocarina items glitch, where if you do or like, you drop like bugs or some other thing that you can scoop back up with your bottle, then backflip while the bottle is still in your hand and press an item button, then you'll land and pull out that item, but as an ocarina. And you can do that with your shield, and then it will trigger at all of those points for the rest of the dungeon when you do that.
Huh.
So that's what I usually do when I'm in that dungeon, and that also kind of eliminates a lot of pausing because there's some rooms where you need to like have more than items on your C buttons than you can with having an ocarina.
That's for water levels that do suck.
Yeah.
A lot of the water levels in Mario.
Yeah.
Especially 2D Mario levels. It's just the water mechanics in 2D Mario are not great.
Soda Lake from Super Mario World immediately comes to mind.
Yeah.
The one level that has Torpedo Teds in it.
Oh yeah. That one's awful.
Yep. Yeah, that one's pretty bad. Really, all of World 3 in Super Mario Brothers 3 is bad because that is just straight up a water world. Most of the time, if I'm like doing my casual player quality, like 100% playthrough of Super Mario Brothers 3, World 3 is usually where I get walled if I'm like not quite at where I should be playing wise.
Yeah, they're just not fun to move through.
No.
It's like because you in trying to go forward, you're always going at an angle because you're trying to swim forward, but you can only swim up, or you could stop paddling, in which case you start going back down. But going down is super slow.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, there have been some power-ups in Mario games that have existed to remedy that, sort of. Like the frog suit in Super Mario Brothers 3, and I think the penguin suit in like New Super Mario Brothers Wii as well.
I believe so. Wasn't the blue shell in the DS New Super Mario Bros. So it had something to do with water as well?
I'm not sure on that one. Yeah, the frog suit's nice in water levels in Super Mario Brothers 3 until you have to like get out of the water, and then it's, darn near useless. I did see a task playthrough of Super Mario Brothers 3 that used like a Game Genie code to give you frog suit at the start of the game, and I think it was Tompa played through warpless the entire entirety of Super Mario Brothers 3 with the frog suit, and that was something to behold. All right. Yeah, otherwise, though, water levels in 2D Mario's are kind of not great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, at least in the 3D Mario games, they've played around with them a little bit more.
A little bit.
Like, I mean, you could argue a lot of Super Mario Sunshine is a water level.
Yeah.
It's a water game, really. The central mechanic. I mean, if we're going by like mechanics, water is the central mechanic of Super Mario Sunshine.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Oh, that does remind me. Super
brush
Mario
the
Bros.
eel.
63 is a 2D Sunshine with the flood mechanics in the setting of Super Mario 64. But the flood underwater in 2D Mario was a ton of fun in that Flash game. Because you just hold down space to make the flood go, and you can point up or down, and you'll just go in that direction really fast.
That's cool.
It's
like a
tons
jetpack?
of fun. Yeah, pretty much.
Cool. Yeah, I know.
But
I know Mario Sunshine is a very like hit or miss for people, but I like it.
Mhm.
I do like Sunshine.
I could not get into it, but I didn't play it that long and give it a very fair shot. I just had so many GameCube games by that point that it wasn't the one that was grabbing my interest anymore.
I mean, it's very, very far from the top of best GameCube games for sure.
Yeah, that's the thing.
But it's not bad
No.
for being one of the worst 3D Marios. It's still a good game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Generally.
I think they tuned up the water mechanics in that game a lot better than they did with 64. But also, like, I'm not going to fault on Super Mario 64 having clunky water mechanics too much because it was the first 3D Mario game. So
Right.
Yeah.
And everything else about that game was so just mechanically sound and dialed in.
Yeah.
Because they spent months on just the core gameplay loop before they even started with developing the game itself. It's like for months, Super Mario 64 was just Mario in a room until they got all the movement mechanics down.
Yeah.
You want to know what a good water level is?
Is it one from a Mega Man game? Because Mega Man has great
Mega Man
water
has
levels.
Mega Man has good water levels. Yeah. But it's not technically a level per se, but Blitzball.
Ah, yeah, Blitzball.
Some people hate it. I love it. I say
Blitzball's
to the people that hate it, get good. Blitzball is great.
Yeah, it is.
And I love it. And there's a couple underwater portions in Final Fantasy X that are actually pretty decent. Like there's a couple points where you are actually there are several points in the game actually where you're fighting underwater, and I really like the way they do some mechanics in that, because there's certain fights where since you're underwater you can do certain special actions, like context actions in some of the fights where you can like move to the other side of the enemy or something like that.
Nice.
So that way you can like have kind of like a pincer formation.
Yeah.
So one party member on each side of the enemy and stuff. That was always really cool. They play around with that a lot.
Yeah.
Also, Final Fantasy 14. Stormblood introduced the dive mechanic because there was parts of the Stormblood story that took place underwater. So ever since Stormblood, now if you have basically like almost every like super dark body of water, you can just like dive underwater in it. It's like a whole separate map underneath the water that you can swim through. And if you have a mount with flying, then you can ride that through. All that for extra movement speed and stuff. And I don't think they didn't use that mechanic too much in Dawn Trail. I think they used it once or twice in Endwalker, and they used it a couple times in Shadowbringers, but it was a pretty core mechanic to the story of Stormblood, just because there were certain settlements that you had to interact with that were underwater. And that was a really cool surprise. I wasn't expecting when I started Stormblood to go underwater, and then for them to like make the underwater maps as massive as they did, because it's effectively doubling the size of that zone. I mean, technically you go underwater and you're loading into a separate zone, but like it's all like it's relatively seamless. So it's almost like you're in the same zone as you are in the above water area. It's really cool.
Mhm.
And the music for those, it's really good. The Ruby Sea is like one of my favorite themes in Stormblood.
Mhm.
Really good. Hey, have I told you Final Fantasy 14 is good?
Multiple times.
Okay, just checking.
Circling back around to Mega Man levels. Mega Man's water levels are great. Um, kind of take a non-traditional approach compared to almost every other water level type level, and that it's sort of just like reduced gravity type levels rather
Yeah.
than being forced to swim mechanic type level. Except for Mega Man 8, where Mega Man apparently could swim.
Interesting.
That's always interesting.
Yeah, except that was a secondary mechanic. It still functioned like a traditional Mega Man water level, but like you could press the jump button again while mid air and go into swimming, or I guess mid jump since you're underwater, so it's not really mid air.
Hmm.
Yeah, a lot of Mega Man water levels are generally pretty good water levels, in my opinion. But that sort of thing also kind of carries over into the X games and the Zero games and ZX, and yeah. Capcom just kind of knew what they were doing with that one.
We did get our first robot master who is a woman with a water stage in Mega Man.
Yeah, shoutouts to my homegirl Splash Woman.
Mm.
And then
Splash Woman
Okay.
stage is pretty fun, actually.
and then
Are those bees?
Leviathan and Mega Man
Let's see.
Zero.
Yeah. Fairy Leviathan.
Fairy Leviathan.
Yeah.
It's a fun fight. It's just
It is.
hard.
Yeah.
Let's see what other water levels are bad. Oh wait, all of them. Donkey Kong Country came up.
Yeah.
And I'm like 50-50 on Donkey Kong Country because they do as soon as you get like the swordfish, they become incredibly fun levels.
Yes.
And the music is phenomenal.
Yeah. Kind of going back to Brain Flakes' entry in the Hey Listeners, like aesthetically, like Donkey Kong Country 1, 2, and 3 really nail the like fantastic aesthetics of a water level.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the movement, their underwater movement mechanics are just a little bit better generally than Mario 2. It's not as like
Yeah,
slow.
no
It's
pun
still
intended.
slower.
They feel much more fluid.
Yeah.
And yeah, once you get on guard the swordfish, like underwater movement becomes a breeze because
It's so fun.
yeah, like you go from sort of like the regular swimming mechanic to having more or less 8-way movement plus his skewering ability that really useful against some of the enemies because otherwise the Kongs can't hurt those enemies and yeah.
Yeah, so they're half bad. They're
Yeah.
they're they're bordering bad until you get the swordfish, and then they're really, really fun.
Yeah.
So I think another thing that water levels tend to come down to, especially in side-scrolling platformers, is just like, I mean, I guess platformers in a way are always this, but it's they're just kind of become like dodging obstacles but in very annoying ways.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like there's always like that like spike ball type enemy or something, or like just like an
Yeah.
enemy that's just like moving up and down and up and down and up and down. Or there's one that's like going around a block or something like that you had to time yourself going through that and all that.
Yeah.
It's just coupled with the lower movement speed, just makes it so annoying to get through.
hmm
Yeah.
At least Donkey
Yeah.
Kong Country does it in both a very aesthetically pleasing and very pleasing to listen to fashion.
Yes. You know who doesn't do that? Everyone else. No.
Yeah, kinda, yeah.
Specifically, Sonic.
There it is.
Yep.
Sonic water mechanics are the worst.
Yes,
They're
they
so
are.
bad. It's like, here, we're not just going to insult you by making this game about going fast incredibly, unbearably slow, but we're going to put a timer on how long you can stay underwater.
That's the fun part.
And in addition to that, some levels are 90% water.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Ah.
I will say that a lot of the later Sonic games, the water levels aren't as bad as some of the early 2D ones. And honestly, I
Yeah.
think the first attempt at a water level, Sonic 1, is just the absolute worst of the entire series. They just straight up got better from there on.
Yeah. Labyrinth Zone was kind of trash.
Yeah.
But
And it's kind of telling that they put in, if you know where to go, there are ways to shortcut both the entirety of Act 1, or nearly all of Act 1, and take a much shorter route through Act 3. Because if because they wanted you to not have to play that if you're going the fastest speed.
Yeah.
yeah. Well, the problem with their approach to it is Sonic can't swim.
Mm-hmm.
So they
Because
just
hedgehogs can't swim is what Yushinaka thought, without knowing that yes they do.
Yeah.
of course. So like all the water level in Sonic is a regular level, but with a water like graphic of water overlaid on top of the screen, and your movement speed brought down to like 5%.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And that is a Sonic water level. Like,
Oh yeah,
why?
and it also flickers at 30 hertz because the Sega Genesis couldn't do proper transparency.
Like, why would we think this was a fun mechanic? And then in addition to that, we're slowing you down, and then we're also going to make it so you die if you're down here too long.
Yep.
There's bubbles.
Thanks.
There's plenty
Sometimes.
of bubbles.
Sometimes.
I will say though, okay, in Sonic 2, neither of the water levels are bad.
Yeah. I think Chemical Plant is probably more egregious than
and there's way less water.
There's a lot less water in Chemical Plant. I mean,
Yeah.
I always find myself in it.
Yeah.
But
you can go through both zones of Chemical Plant without touching the water at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same with Aquatic Ruin. And Aquatic Ruin has multiple paths above the water. So if you stay on the top one, even if you fall to the middle one, you're still above the water. Sonic 3 and Knuckles is a weird one because all the Sonic 3 stages have water. But the only ones you would actively consider water levels would be
Hydrosity.
And Launch Base Act 2.
Oh yeah.
And Hydrosity is kind of feels like a mix between Chemical Plant and Labyrinth, but with the good parts of Chemical Plant's water of just running on it and such, with the style of Labyrinth graphically.
Yeah.
There's water slides in Hydrosity.
Most importantly, though, is that the water shield exists.
That's true too. That is very true. Yeah, they definitely. You definitely have a lot of help from the water shield. And meanwhile, in 3D Sonic games, the water is generally used as a border.
Yeah.
there aren't. What is that level called in Sonic Adventure 2 where he plays as Knuckles? Aquatic Ruin? No, that's Sonic 2.
I think I know what level you're talking about. It's like an abandoned mine where you have to find Master Emerald bits.
Mm-hmm. Give me a second, I'll pull it up.
Yeah.
What's that boss fight in Sonic Advance 2 that takes place underwater? That was Sonic Advance 1, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You're thinking about the advanced one, yeah. There's no water. There's a very limited amount of water in the first 2 acts, and that's it, of Sonic Advance 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's that one boss fight in Sonic Advance 1 that takes place underwater. It's like the spikes that drop down on you. That was a little bit annoying. And the water mechanics in the advanced game are also very strange because like if you are on a platform that's like just above your character height underwater sort of thing, so like you're just enough submerged so that way enough that you can jump and get out of the water, like your momentum jumping out of the water, as soon as you get out of the water, your momentum like shoots up and you go flying up.
Yeah, it's wild.
It's
I mean,
really
it does
weird.
that in Labyrinth Zone 2, actually.
Does it?
Yeah, and it just doesn't happen as frequently.
Oh, yeah, I've never noticed that in the classic games.
I don't know, maybe not as extreme. The physics for that might have been a little bit different.
Yeah, because it was like very, very, like I've never experienced jumping out of the water being that like drastically exaggerated as in Sonic Advance. Just like, whoa, this is crazy.
The trick for that boss fight is you use girl power and you actually just smack Robotnik around with a hammer and win really fast.
I just remember what I'm remembering. No, that did not happen in the original games. Where it did happen was Sonic Genesis.
Yep. Because Sonic Genesis is built off of the physics engines and everything of the advanced games.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is the main reason why it's so bad.
Yeah.
Sonic Advanced.
Yeah. The level in Sonic Adventure 2 I'm thinking of is Aquatic Mine.
Yeah.
There's lots of water switches of raising the water level in that one too, which generally isn't good in 3D games. I know we were talking about Water Temple being okay, but what's the one in Super Mario 64? People hate it? Wet Dry World?
Wet Dry World, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is one of the levels in that game.
I think it was Tears of the Kingdom had a pretty good water temple.
Yeah, that's floating in the sky.
I think so, yeah. And there was a little bit of to get to it, there was a little bit of a raising and lowering the water level type of mechanic to get to the water temple. I really enjoyed that one. I'm pretty sure that was Tears of the Kingdom, not Breath of the Wild. Being so far removed from the games now, they kind of blur together a little bit. Yeah, because the water temple in Breath of the Wild was the camel, something like that. And that was one of the 4 that gave me the most difficulty for the puzzles. I don't remember. One of the Switch Zelda games had a pretty okay water temple. I'll just leave it at that. I still had to finish Tears of the Kingdom. I dropped it at the Fire Temple, which was the last of the 4 temples I had to do. Yeah. I don't know if it was bad. I just wasn't feeling it. A couple other things that they ask you to do. I don't even know if I got into the temple. I think I was still doing the stuff to get to it. And I was just like, I don't feel like doing this, and I just haven't gone back to it. But that was after goofing off in that game for 50 hours, so I was just kind of tired of it. Another game with awful water levels. And I'm surprised that Jazzy didn't include this in his write-in with all the other games he mentioned. But also not surprised because it doesn't surprise me. Kingdom Hearts, awful. Atlantica, the worst. Terrible.
Mhm.
Hate it.
I saw that coming.
So bad.
Yeah.
Actually, Kingdom Hearts 1 Atlantica isn't. I don't hate Kingdom Hearts 1 Atlantica. It's a little bit of a pain to navigate, like all of the Kingdom Hearts 1 levels. So that's just a
Mhm.
fault of Kingdom Hearts 1. But Kingdom Hearts 2, they turned it into a rhythm game.
Right.
And it's terrible. They wrote original songs attempting to be in the style of the soundtrack from The Little Mermaid. And it's just,
Ooh, yeah, that's right.
oh, it's so bad. So bad. The literal worst. The entire time I was playing through Kingdom Hearts 2, I was doing everything in my power to avoid going to Atlantica until finally I had to. It was terrible. Scarred me for life. Swim This Way is a travesty and an abomination, and I wish I could set my ears on fire having listened to it.
Mhm.
So bad. Kingdom Hearts 2 is a great game.
Mhm.
Atlantica is a terrible level. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we touched on all the big bases.
Yeah.
You know what kind of game always has great water levels? Fishing
What?
games.
Oh yeah, that is true. If fishing games had bad water levels, then they would not be very good games. Yeah. Yeah. Aesthetic wise though, kinda like uh when we did the ice levels episode, it's like they're almost all very pleasing to look at and listen
Yeah.
to for the
Yes.
most part.
Especially like as game graphics got better.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Looking at water effects in 3D altering the look of the plant life just always looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
I don't know why this just came to mind because it's not technically a water level, but like Metal Gear Solid 2 takes place on an oil rig out in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah.
I don't know why that just came to mind, but that's a pretty okay level with some water in it. I like Metal Gear Solid 2. Screw the haters. It's a good game. I even played Metal Gear Solid 1 first. And when I found out that I was playing as a guy that wasn't Solid Snake in Metal Gear Solid 2, you know what I thought? I didn't think anything because I was 12. And it was just a cool game.
Yeah.
Actually, the first time I played Metal Gear Solid 2, I didn't even know Snake was in it because my brother's friend had already progressed past the intro of the game where you play as Snake.
Oh, yeah.
So I was the first time I ever played that game, I was already playing as Raiden.
Yeah.
Like, this game is cool.
I know one of my favorite parts of Metroid Prime is that you can skip the water sections in that game entirely.
Does that mean the water levels are good or that the water levels are bad though? Because
The
that's kind of
water
a
levels,
labyrinth situation there too.
yeah, the water levels are all right, but I like that you can sequence break around them.
Right.
I do like the water mechanics in Metroid, though.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That it makes sense for your armor to be very, very heavy.
Right.
And then you unlock a suit that is specially designed to like enhance your ability to move through whatever the gravity suit employs. And then once you have the gravity suit, moving through water is just as easy as moving through any other terrain.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a cool part of Metroid is that like, oh, there's lava here. Well, I've got the right suit. Oh, there's water here. I've got the right suit. It just plays like normal.
Yeah.
What's
Yeah,
that?
so-
This lava's hot, you say? I wouldn't know.
Yeah. Wow, this planet has a corrosive atmosphere. If I step out of the barrier put up by these crystals, not if I have the light suit. This planet has acid rain on it 24/7. It's a good thing I've got the hazard shield.
Perfect.
Looping back to
Oh,
Sonic for a quick second.
Oh, a fourth game is coming out. Better eat a incredibly spicy chip about it.
Something about Sonic?
Yeah,
Loops.
the game
Sonic
I'm playing
does go
right
through
now.
loops.
Yeah, that's true. It was clever. I didn't even realize it. The game I'm playing right now doesn't have much water, but Seaside Hill from Sonic Heroes, which was one of those 3D games where the water is just the border. It's just mostly an aesthetic thing.
Yep.
Sonic Generations, specifically the modern version, although the 2D version also does have underwater segments, but that's more like a labyrinth style thing where you're going in and out. Sonic Generations modern version of Seaside Hill has both like the mechanics of walking underwater in sort of a 2D style, but with the modern abilities. But it also has bits where you can run on top of the water in 3D, and it makes running around in 3D pretty cool because you can just run on water where you don't even think that it's possible.
Yeah.
And the way they sort of put a limit on it is kind of cool, which is if you go too far out in the water, a giant fish badneck, chopper is the name of those, will start chasing you and eventually grab you if you go too far off the map. So it still has like, yes, you can get into the water, but without having to like sacrifice having invisible walls or whatever. It just works from a logical standpoint that, yeah, you're way out in the middle of the ocean, there's a giant fish that's going to eat you. So, plus the 2D segments, very fun because you can just boost. And if you boost fast enough, Sonic will start rising up, and then you can just run on top of the water like you can in Hydrocity.
Nice.
That's fun.
And yeah, one other thing I want to bring up in terms of Sonic water levels is Sonic Colors, because he can sort of swim in 3D Sonic Colors. Not exactly swim in the same way like Tails could, but you have infinite jumps while you're underwater.
Oh.
Which makes it much more bearable. And I don't get why
Yeah.
they don't do that for all games since that. But they didn't.
This is
so.
too good. We better take it out.
Yeah.
Said no one ever except Sonic Team, apparently.
Apparently. Like, I get switching back for Generations because it'd be weird to do older levels that didn't have that. But, I don't know.
You
Forces
mean it would have
doesn't
been
have it.
better?
Yeah, fair enough. Probably would have.
Just shows their inability to commit to all of what modern Sonic was at the time.
Yeah. That was a... Sonic Generations came out and people were like, wow, Sonic is turning around. This is really fun. And the next game they're like, let's throw all that out of the window and do a complete redesign of the physics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is a series that came to mind that I have kind of like a love-hate relationship with the way it handles water. And that series is Pokemon.
Yeah.
So mechanically I like the ability to traverse on top of water using surf.
Yeah.
That's always been fun and stuff. And I like obviously like all of the water themed gyms have some really fun design layouts and stuff, and the newer games always have some interesting mechanics as you're going through them and all that. But water in Pokemon as a traversal mechanic has also, more so in the middle generation games, been notoriously the worst for traversal, because the way that HMs worked back then, where you would need like 4 different HMs for specifically water mechanics and traversal. And it was just very, very bad. I think Generation 4 might have been the most offensive with it.
Yeah.
Generation 3 was when it started getting bad because they added dive, which
Yep.
in and of itself was a really cool mechanic, but you already had surf, which just allows you to go on the water to begin with, whirlpool, waterfall, and then they added dive in Gen
Yep.
3.
And
Mm-hmm.
then I think Gen 4 also had a defog, which I
Yes.
believe is water type at very least.
I think so.
Not really a water traversal,
Yeah.
but yeah. Still, though, it's a lot of water type HMs.
Yeah, I mean, just the fact that there were 4 of them at any one time, that's a Pokemon can only learn 4 moves, which
Yeah.
means like your HM dummy for your water types is just gonna have the 4 HM moves.
Yep.
I mean, thankfully, like Surf has always been a pretty viable skill to use.
Yeah. Surf
But,
is
like-
actually just a really good water move.
Yeah. But like that's probably water types in general have benefited the most from the series shift away from HMs. That was just like
Yeah.
long overdue to begin with, but
Yeah.
like it's so nice not having to just like have your water Pokemon just be the HM dummy.
Yeah.
Yeah, going through and replaying Gens 3 and 4 can be pretty rough because of that.
Uh-huh.
Especially 3. There's so much water in 3 also.
Yeah.
Like, I know that's like the kind of dead horse. It's like, oh, Gen 3, there's just so much water. But like, there is a
Yeah.
lot of water.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, as early as Gen 2, they were already heading in the direction of stacking too many water mechanics. Like,
Yeah.
too many water HMs. And then they just kept adding to it. Like, what are you guys doing? You have to stop this, please.
Yeah.
Like, because Gen 2 alone was Surf, Whirlpool, and Waterfall. You needed Whirlpool to get to Lugia, and you needed Waterfall to get to the Elite Four.
Mhm.
It was just moving away from HMs. Seriously, like the only HMs I don't like are the water ones because those are the ones that take up the most space. Like I never had a problem with HMs until I was
Yeah.
like, my water type Pokemon is just 4 HM moves. I hate this.
Yep.
But no, moving away from that was one of the best like air quotes innovations the series could have had.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree on that.
It's like, what if we could just ride on our water Pokemon on the water because they're water Pokemon and they already know how to swim.
Yeah.
Yep. Anyway, I think probably move along.
I have one. Mario Kart water levels.
Oh, those are
Hmm.
neat. Especially in like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe when they actually like transition into a different sort of driving
Yeah,
style.
I like those.
And I guess on a tangent of that, I really don't like the water levels in Diddy Kong Racing. Because
Are those-
those most often
You're
were
in, like-
played on hovercraft,
Yeah, hovercraft.
and
Okay.
the hovercraft in that game was not great.
Is it more just
Should
like a boat kind of thing, or
Yeah, it's
Okay.
like a inner tube propelled by a fan sort of deal.
okay?
Yeah, and I think because of that, it's just has like a really floaty from side to side type feel to it too.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
you
it
could,
would have
like-
been better. It would have been better if they were in like if they were riding like jet skis or something.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
That's what they
problem was,
do
like-
in Sega All Stars Racing Transformed. Is you're on a boat.
Yeah. Yeah, because the problem comes from it being a hovercraft, so it handles
Yeah.
like a hovercraft. So you're not just like having there's no like resistance from the water, I guess is what I would
yeah.
describe it as. 'cause
Right.
It's really, really floaty.
Pros,
Which
it has a 0 turn radius. cons, it has a 0 turn rate.
Yeah.
Yeah. How much of the game is the hovercraft, though? I guess is the question.
A good chunk of it, potentially, because for a lot
Isn't
of
there a
the
boss with
races,
it?
yes,
Yeah.
there's a boss with it, but also like you could just select that as your vehicle for a lot of races.
Oh, weird.
Yeah,
Huh.
so you had your choice between the regular go-kart, the hovercraft, and a airplane.
Mm-hmm. Well, because for me, I don't know. I only played a little bit of 7, but when they introduced the water and the air, they're like, these are the big new things, and then like they didn't do that much with it. I felt like, um, which the controls are fine for them, but like they are very similar to just driving.
Yeah,
Like it works, but it's like this isn't all that different. So like how much
yeah,
they hyped it up makes it a little.
yeah. The difference between underwater driving in the Mario Kart games versus like the hovercraft in Diddy Kong Racing is very, very broad difference.
Right, yeah, because then you're just on top of the water.
Yep.
Yeah, and Mario Kart, you're swimming underwater because it's Mario and doesn't even matter how physics underwater work.
Yep. Fireballs underwater? Sounds great.
Sure. Uh,
Breathing? What's that?
Patrick, if we're underwater, why is there a fire?
Anyway, let's move along into our next segment as we prepare to get out of here today. Our next segment is our weekly link to the past.
This was a great transition and I didn't even
It
plan
was actually, because speaking of Mario Kart,
Yeah.
23 years ago today, the date of recording, it is July 21st of 2024, releasing 23 years ago today in Japan, Mario Kart Super Circuit for the Game Boy Advance.
Put that at D tier.
I think we put that at D tier. I think I put it
Yeah.
at F tier. I didn't
I
like
might have
Super
too.
Circuit.
And Super Circuit was all right.
It's so of the Mode 7 racers, I like it the least. But it has some fun tracks that got brought to later Mario Karts.
Yeah.
So there's that. But the game itself, yeah. It was
Yeah.
an early GBA game. Like it came out within months of the Game Boy Advance. So it's basically a launch title. So it had the very washed out color palette
Yep.
of early
Mhm.
Game Boy Advance games. And I just didn't like the way they did the character models either. It just looked kind of ugly to me.
Yeah. It supported up to 4-player multiplayer though.
That's cool.
Which is pretty cool for a Game Boy Advance game.
For a launch Game Boy Advance game, even.
Yeah.
It's like they had that feature figured out right away.
Yep.
That wasn't something they needed like a year or two to kind of test out. It's like they had it ready. Basically, they had it ready at launch,
Yep.
which was cool.
Yeah, it's. I mean, as a portable Mario Kart game, I probably would have been pretty happy with it back
Yeah.
then. But you know, as the person who called our tier list game for game, like it's one of the weaker Mario Kart games.
Mhm.
I still can't believe I did that.
Well, it's kind of in an awkward place because it came after Mario Kart 64, but it plays more closely to Super Mario Kart.
Yeah, but it borrows a
Mhm.
lot of the aesthetics from 64.
It does. Yeah.
Right.
Which I
It's
mean,
kind of like,
for the most part, they did a good job of translating the like 3D models into Mode
Mhm.
7 sprites. So, like,
Mhm.
I think they're very ugly.
I've seen worse on the Game Boy Advance.
I mean,
Oh yeah.
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 Go look at Duke 3D.
I'd rather not. I value my eyesight. What's left of it after 34 years of staring at computers. Well,
Yeah.
I haven't been staring at computers for 34 years, but
I had.
I've
Well,
been
I haven't either.
But I mean, I've been playing video games for 30 of them, so
Yeah.
staring at a screen. So,
Yeah.
uh,
Oh,
what?
oh, wow. I'm looking at this. Shouldn't have done that. That's rough.
See, I told you.
Yeah.
Anyway, happy birthday, Mario Kart Super Circuit. Duke Nukem for the Game Boy Advance. You can go back to the depths of hell from which you came. And give Neal back some of his eyesight while you're at it. Anyway, that's going to bring us to the end of episode 56. Lucas, where can they find you outside the podcast?
On Fantasy Star Online.
You can find me on the planet Raggle.
Yep. You can find me on Linktree at linktr.ee/Karn_evil_999. It's got links to my YouTube channel where I post long plays of all of our That One Game games. Can follow me on Twitter where I retweet Colin a bunch, as well as some of our other friends. Can add me on Steam if you want. I'm playing Iphinia through Lutris on Linux, so it won't be on Steam. And, of course, links to listen to the podcast and join the podcast Discord server. It's linktr.ee/Karn_evil_999.
All right. And where can they find Neal outside the podcast?
All my links are at linktr.ee/VMK9. We got Minecraft Monday links, a bunch of different gaming podcast links, my Twitter /X or whatever you want to call it, and my old YouTube channel link. I do need to revamp these. That's probably not going to happen this week, but check me out there. Those might change. Meanwhile, Colin, where are you? Are you in the trees yet?
No, I forgot. That is yet to come. I still gotta do that, but I forgot.
Yeah.
So in the meantime, you can find me on Twitter at Delicious Morsel, on YouTube at youtube.com/Delicious Morsels and youtube.com/@Delicious Morsels Music. And then also I am on Apple Music and Spotify and Bandcamp and more, but there's link to those three in the description below. Yeah. I think that's yep. Mm-hmm. And as always, if you liked what you heard here today, please be sure to hit the subscribe button where that's an option. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts because I hear they like that stuff. Hit the like button if that is a thing, and feel free to share this episode with a friend. We're going to be back in a couple weeks with another episode, but until then, have a wonderful rest of your day, and remember, I don't know why I'm doing this accent.
Play for the sea cows.
Stay for the sea bears.